So, Shawn, how important are days like this where you get decision makers, you get MPs, you get people that are impact public policy, you get them out to the range and you get them in front of firearms like this and say, hey, give it a try. It's not that scary.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right now it's a critical time because, with the Common Sense Firearms Act, I mean, this is obviously probably the last time before the legislation comes down that we're going to get the opportunity to actually lobby these folks for some common sense change. I think it's extremely important that, and not just, conservatives, but liberals and NDPs as well. I mean,
And you've got the deputy leader of the Green Party. Sure, they only have 2 MPs, but Bruce Heyer.
Yeah, and I mean, well, Elizabeth May came out not so long ago saying that she supported hunting. So, I mean, firearms in Canada, they're legitimate, they're legal. I mean, everything that you see here on the table is, completely legal. And I think it's important that we get past that, the fear of the unknown, the fear of the firearm. They look black, they look scary, but at the end of the day, they're nothing more than just a regular hunting rifle.
We've heard all the stories. Well, I cover them on the show. We hear all the stories of even kids with airsoft rifles being taken down by SWAT teams. I think that there is, for a large portion of the public, just not the experience that there used to be in seeing things like this. And, sure, you got the big black scary one. Oh, that makes it an assault rifle, blah, blah. We hear all that. But they're even scared of this now. People used to see this in their homes. They'd see it at the farm. They'd see kids walking down the street with 22s. I don't know how many times people tell me stories of that. They'd come home from school throwing the 22 and go target practicing. Do ranges need to play a part in getting back to that and having open house days? Do people, individual gun owners, need to get into an evangelization type mode of saying to their relatives, saying to their friends, hey, why don't you come on out shooting with me Saturday?
Yeah, well, I think that, in 1995 when the legislation came down, obviously they removed it. Before it was just a simple FAC system where you were not a criminal for having possession of a firearm, whereas today the peaceful possession of a firearm is illegal without the government-approved license. So Section 91, Section 92 of the Criminal Code really changed the dynamic with firearms ownership in the country. Before we used to be the friends of the RCMP, and unfortunately, when that became, when we were brought into the Criminal Code, all of our information is found on CPIC. So that really changed the relationship between law enforcement and the firearms owner. Culturally, obviously, with the urbanization of the country, people leaving rural areas.
81% urban is what Canada is now.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think probably one of the biggest things is urban ranges, right? And unfortunately, a lot of them have been closed. There are very few left in Toronto. I mean, it's one of these things where, with the airsoft issue, I mean, it all comes back to, I mean, we're in an age where, information, hysteria, mass shootings, like all these really rare occurrences that almost never happen, and in fact happen far more before, years ago, but we just didn't have that access to the information. So I think there's a lot of fear mongering going on in the mainstream media, and there's really nothing to be afraid of. I mean, statistically, law-abiding firearms owners are less dangerous than the average person that doesn't own firearms. So I think there's education that needs to occur, but I really think that probably one of the keys is making the ranges more accessible to the average person that wants to try shooting or try shooting sports. So I mean, obviously the National Firearms Association is working towards that, but it's a cultural shift. We were starting to feel in Canada, one of the things that I'm really proud to be part of right now. It's exciting times because we're starting to actually feel the culture change, right? But it takes time,
Well, I was speaking to one range operator just recently who said, we can't keep up with demand. We have to expand because 5 years ago, we were getting to the point where it was tough to make sure that our members could keep the range going. Now they can't run the safety courses fast enough. They're getting a lot of interest. I think that speaks to a shift in culture, but I think it's something that needs to keep going. My wife went out shooting for the first time last year and loved it. Never thought she'd enjoy it.
Sure. My wife was the same way. I mean, my wife, I've hunted for many, many years. She used to, during the fall, she becomes a hunting widow. I basically evaporated into the woods somewhere, and she just didn't like long guns. Brought her out, got some pistols, brought her out to the range. She fell in love with pistols. Now she's got the, pink T-shirts and the guns, and I mean, she bought her own pistol. She's taken her course. So, I mean, it's that, getting over that preconception of what firearms ownership and use is really all about. And I've rarely, out of all the people that I've introduced to the sport, most of the people that I work in this industry, and most of the people, when they get introduced to it the first time, I've very, very rarely seen anybody that's ever shot a firearm for the first time that didn't smile.
Stand by.
Stand by. How was that, Andre?
Great. I like the smell.
I mean, it's the fun factor, right? It's one of those things where, immediately once that first round goes downrange and it's like, this is really cool, right?
It's even better when you actually learn how to hit the target properly, right?
Absolutely. It's always better when you can hit the target, yeah.
All right, Shawn, thanks so much. It took me a long time to figure out how to hit the target, but I'm getting better at it.
Stand by.
That's something. We'll continue to have fun here at the range, and don't go away. We've got plenty more here on Byline.